All right, guys, we are live. This is the Shillan and Duffy show recapping UFC 317, the 2025 International Fight Week pay-per-view. This is brought to you by the leader of the MMA world, sherdog.com. I am your host. My name is Keith Shillan. Joining me, as always, is the senior editor of sherdog.com, the great Ben Duffy. Ben, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. Obviously, we're not going to give this card a letter grade until much, much later in the show, but I'm buzzing, man. This is one of those nights that reminds me why, at its best, this is the best sport in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. So we will shit on bad cards. We are not those guys who try to sugarcoat anything. We'll shit on fighters. We'll shit on organizations. We'll do that. There is absolutely nothing to shit on tonight. It is, I mean, I think you could argue, I think this is locked for card of the year, event of the year. Listen, we started, you asked me on paper what I was giving this card, and I gave it a much lower grade than you would give it International Fight Week when we did the preview. Mm-hmm. We do that on paper. And then you have these type of moments where you have the biggest card, usually the biggest card of the year, International Fight Week. I didn't get as many text messages I get. I mean, I think about years ago when Conor McGregor was headlining these cards, and John Jones and all those, the biggest names, the biggest stars. I wasn't getting that. I got one text message this week about this card. But holy shit, if you are a casual, and I don't know if casuals are here watching this, if you are a casual and you sat this one out, you sat out a you set out the wrong card, because the promo before was Israel Adesanya talking about big moments, International Fight Week, everything, and this was one of those big moments. So let's get right into the card. Shout out to everybody in the chat. We'll try to get going all night with you guys. Thank you guys for staying with it. It's pretty late. It's only 1:10 a.m. on the East Coast, so only 12:10 where Ben is. So not as late as we've had before, but we got a lot to talk about. Starting off in the main event, Charles Oliveira trying to capture the UFC lightweight title for a second time. Ilia Topuria trying to become one of the few fighters in UFC history to capture two belts in two different weight classes. He gave up the featherweight belt, but he didn't give up gold because he just captured a second title in his second title in UFC history in a absolutely stunning, spectacular. I mean, I called the first and second round. I can't remember what I called it. And even that has surprised me, because it's surprising seeing Charles Oliveira on his back out like this. Holy shit. Ben, I'm going to ask you a question. I know I live in the moment. Everyone who's watches this show knows Keith lives in the moment. Keith loves – I could work for the UFC because I will say something outrageous when something big happened. Is Ilia Topuria the most – not the greatest – the most talented fighter skill-wise in MMA history?
I think it's possible that he is. It's difficult, and I'm not even talking about overall, wrestling, submission, grappling, striking. I'm talking about you have to get down to very narrow individual skills to even point out things that he doesn't do at an extremely high level. Like comparing his skills to some of the other just greatest, most complete martial artists of all time, he's up there. When I think of the prototype martial artist who had all the skills, Demetrius Johnson's the first one that comes to mind.
To me, it's them two. That's it.
Yeah, and it's about equally easy to point holes in both of their game. It's ridiculous how good he is, and he's got he's got a little bit of that DJ thing, only just a lot more meanness, finishing instinct, and just frightening power, because even if DJ's power was underrated, especially by the standards of his division, Topuria has pound for pound level power.
That's unbelievable.
And unbelievable. And the level of confidence, the level to which he's in the zone right now, the only thing I can compare it to is prime John Jones, where he would just fearlessly go at his opponents at their best skill sometimes, almost seeming as though he was looking to prove something to himself. Because here's the thing. He gave Charles Oliveira a perfect Charles Oliveira fight and still knocked him out in half a round. Topuria, obviously one of the shorter guys with shorter reach, even at featherweight, even more so at lightweight. But despite that, he's the guy that prefers to box at a certain distance, and Oliveira is the guy that does his best striking when he has his hands physically on you, when he can get the clinch and just set you up for level elbows, knees, break off, and land a couple punches. He gave him that right out of the gate and got the best of that. He got into some scrambling situations on the ground that, in terms of the grappling, probably offered Oliveira his best chance to grab a neck, grab a leg. For a second, I was like, if Oliveira wins this by first round calf slicer, these dudes are going to fight 3 times. So yeah. He did everything he possibly could to make this interesting for 2 minutes, and it still ended up with Oliveira out cold. It's just unbelievable.
It's absolutely unbelievable. I agree with you saying, like, we try to pick out his weakness. And you know what the scouting report on Ilia Topuria's weakness is? He doesn't throw high kicks. Like that's what we have. He doesn't throw high kicks. Yeah. You know, this is a guy who came into the UFC known for his grappling, and he might be the best boxer ever in the UFC. Again, I might be living the moment. I'm sure there's other guys on there, but the run he's going on, knocking, dude, he's not beating guys. He's not stopping guys. He's knocking them cold. Charles Oliveira out cold, dead. Looked like he got hit by a sniper.
And yeah, if you don't think he's at least the best boxer in MMA right now, well, if you don't think he's the best boxer in MMA right now, you're silly. Because on his way out of featherweight, he trashed 2 of the other guys in the conversation.
Sure.
Like, completely trashed 2 of the other guys in the conversation.
It's
and
unbelievable.
If you don't think he's at least in the short conversation for the greatest of all time, I mean, I don't know what you're watching. It's gnarly, and he has been steadily improving while beating everybody. And beating everybody in increasingly lopsided fashion as he moves up the rankings. Normally, when a great fighter comes to the UFC, they start blowing everyone away right out of the gate, and eventually their competition level catches up with them, or maybe they develop right alongside it. But normally you don't go from barely beating Yusuf Salal, even if that has aged well, to just thrashing 3 all-time great fighters in a row.
Yeah, I love when they scan the crowd of the 3 possible next opponents for Topuria, and we'll get into that in a minute. But they go to Gaethje, and Gaethje's all excited because, you know, Gaethje's insane, and they go to, I don't remember the order, and they go to Patty, and, you know, Patty's working up the crowd because he is. Then they go to Arman Sarukian, and you see Arman, and you're talking about, you know, pound guy himself, great, incredible, and it's just like, he's like, you can see him uncomfortable. He's like, dude, get the camera off of me. Like, I don't want that. And again, I'm having a little fun with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the incredible thing about this run he's on, he moved up in weight. You're not supposed to be knocking out guys. That's big, you know, the big line. Obviously, Charles Oliveira, his jiu-jitsu is always, you know, how can Charles win? Oh, obviously catch him in jiu-jitsu. But the other thing was, like, is he gonna be too big? When Charles Oliveira closed the distance and tried taking out Topuria, you could really see the size difference. And for a minute, I'm like, oh man, like Oliveira might take him out. Like, this might go bad. And then it didn't. Then after Oliveira was on his back, his you know, his eyes split open, and then they get back to the feet, and he just finishes with one of the cleanest shots you'll see. Just think about this for a second. In the last year, I think it's just under a year, he is, and obviously you just referred to it. He's knocked out Alex Volkanovski. He's knocked out Max Holloway. He's knocked out Charles Oliveira back to back to back.
Mm-hmm.
If you were ranking those guys all time, all 3 of them are probably worst case scenario top 25 fighters ever of all weight classes. That's if you're being kind of mean to Charles Oliveira, or and again, don't at me. I'm sure you could make up a list, but the point is taken.
Yeah.
And this we just saw from Alex Volkanovski, who just won the title again. I know it was a vacant title, but he just won the title again. He's not shot.
No.
Max Holloway had probably and obviously Max Holloway's had so many unbelievable performances in his career, but the most memorable performance in his career, knocking out Justin Gaethje with 1 second left after already beating him up. Charles Oliveira has gone on a run other than losing to Islam Makhachev, beating all the top guys, destroyed Michael Chandler. Take that win for what's right, but still, like, beating top guys.
Mm-hmm.
And he's making it look freaking easy. Everyone keeps putting in the chat, best street fight run ever. Now, we've been watching MMA forever. I think about guys who went on runs. Fedor, Crow Cop, Chuck Liddell, Lyoto Machida, John Jones, fill in the blank. You tell me who went on a 3-fight win better than anybody. The first guy I think of is Shogun. Shogun in the Pride tournament.
Yeah.
But this tops it.
This definitely tops it. And J-Sex asked, which is a better 3-finish run? Oliveira beating Chandler, Justin, or Topuria beating Volk Max Olives? Topuria beating Volk Max Olives. Because as great as Chandler, Poirier, and Gaethje are, all 3 guys were hittable dudes.
Yes.
Who had been knocked out before. It's not even close. You can kind of look at, again, John Jones's run where he won the title from Shogun, and then in his next 6 fights, he basically beat everybody else that had held the title in like the last 10 years. But most of those wins didn't age that well. He was catching a lot of those guys kind of on the backside.
And it's also not just who he's beating, but how he's doing it.
Yes.
Like the John Jones, obviously his run was incredible, and he was beating guys, incredibly, but dude, what he's doing right now is, I've never seen anything like this, dude. He's not just beating guys; he's knocking these guys freaking dead. It's unbelievable. I mean, let's think about Max Holloway for a second. Max Holloway has never been knocked down in his career. Never knocked down. I know Gaethje dropped him once, but yeah, it's unbelievable.
I mean, even Oliveira, he's a guy that certainly has plenty of TKO losses, but most of that was early on. He'd get rung up and he'd kind of wilt, like just knocked out cold like that, especially basically one-shotted. No, he's doing unprecedented things to fellow all-time great fighters. It is completely unbelievable. It's hard for me not to just kind of go hyperbolic on it. We're seeing all-time greatness being written and put on the record right in front of us right now.
Yeah, let me ask you this question. And obviously I'm not hoping this happened, planning this happened, but if he never wins another fight, say something happens to him, he gets out with serious injuries, illness, something. Obviously, I'm not rooting for any of that, of course. If he never fights again, isn't he already a lock for UFC Hall of Fame based on just these 3 wins?
Yeah, easily. I mean, he's now wiped out 3 people in a row that are locks for the Hall of Fame, so it would be silly if he didn't. Like, what are they going to do? Induct Charles Oliveira like 3 months after he retires and not induct Topuria at this point? Same thing for Holloway. Same thing for Volkanovski, because it's not only 3 great fighters who appear to be in or near their prime, but it's 3 extremely beloved fighters. So, like, it's almost like he's just got like a bouquet of helium balloons that's just going to carry him to the Hall of Fame. Like, you're not going to induct those 3 people without getting him. So,
yeah. I feel like, all right. So obviously, I know you're a big movie buff guy, and like if something ever happened to him, it would feel like the guy who played Fredo in Godfather, where he was in like 3 movies ever, and all 3 movies like 1 movie
Yeah,
of the
it's
year.
like Godfather and like Dog Day Afternoon. Like
Yeah, yeah, and Godfather 2. Yeah,
like the 3 of
I
the
read it.
greatest movies of all time in like 4 years, and then like died. Yeah,
Yeah. So, yeah. So, guys, I'm not sure if anybody's watching. Some people might be listening live. You could see me saying things to somebody else. Shout out to my daughter. I accidentally forgot to charge my computer. I don't know how I forgot that. I was so excited. So she was helping me out with some technical things off the air. So she just luckily got up to go to the bathroom at the right time. So, shout out to our MVP. Let's have a debate. I want you to disagree with me. I don't think you're going to. I want somebody in the chat to disagree with me. I don't think anybody's going to. I believe there's absolutely zero, no argument at all to argue for anybody currently in MMA to be ranked number 1 pound for pound over Ilia Topuria. I wouldn't even hear the argument.
I would love to argue with you, just kind of do the debate club where they tell you which side you're arguing, but any reasonable standard, even the little things that people will sort of make contrarian arguments based on. He's not the guy that has a meaningless loss early in his career. You can't detract from him the way you would from like Islam or you would from Alex Volkanovski a couple of years ago. Just based on him being undefeated by beating everybody the way he's beaten them. Every standard that you use for measuring the hypothetical pound for pound debate, who has anything to say against his case?
I mean, I really don't know. I mean, especially if you take the purest form of what a debate of pound for pound. Now I know pound for pound and I'm glad this guy he posted exactly. Show only said a pound for pound is total BS. And yeah, 100%, totally agree. Totally agree. There's a reason why you have weight classes. People, if you know how do people consider pound for pound? Some people say pound for pound is who's the most dominant in their weight class. Some people say, well, if they're all the same weight, who would win? Well, if they're all the same weight, would John Jones have these extra long arms? Would like it is 100. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I'm doing it because people like to debate this, so we'll do it. Makhachev is obviously on a run like you wouldn't believe. But even in his dominance, even in his run, he's not doing what Topuria is doing. Now, again, he beat Volkanovski. Yes, he ran through Poirier. He ran through Gaethje. He ran through he hasn't had. I mean, other than Volkanovski, his first fight, he hasn't had a close fight. What is Topuria's closest fight in his career?
I haven't rewatched like his Brave CF fights and stuff.
Okay, all right, fine.
In a couple years, but in the UFC, it's either the fact that he actually had some trouble taking Yusuf Zalal down back when he was thought of primarily as a wrestler, and Zalal actually took a round off him, and
okay, which is aged really well.
Is Jai Herbert tagging him once?
Yeah, Jai Herbert. One moment, I didn't think of Zalal. I thought of Herbert. But then how'd that fight end? In probably, and this is a guy who's just, like we said, knocked out Volkanovski, Holloway, and Oliveira back to back. And somehow that was still his most insane, like, holy shit, walk off. Like one of the greatest knockouts, one of the highlights forever knockouts. This kid's you know what I think might be the most special of him, and I'm all over the place with my notes, so I don't know where I'm going with things. It's not even just his skills. I mean, his skills insane. I mean, his knockouts, his punching power. He can. I mean, he was winning the grappling with Charles Oliveira, and he doesn't even use his wrestling, and he can. But he did take Charles Oliveira down. It's his confidence. Yes. This guy's fighting the greatest fighters of all times, and he just sees it. When he's fighting Volkanovski, he's already called himself the champ and talking to existence. He had a celebration party before the fight happened against Charles Oliveira. It's like this dude. Oh my God. I mean, he's a good looking guy. He dresses, he's got the Conor McGregor dressing, look. He's well spoken. Everything he says, he can speak. I think he speaks like 72 languages. I know he speaks Georgian and obviously English and Spanish. He was speaking Portuguese with Charles Oliveira. Like, and I know Portuguese and Spanish is not that far off, but yeah, this guy is so marketable. I think the UFC has dropped the ball because they've marketed him in Europe, but they haven't marketed him anywhere else.
Yeah.
He needs to go on an America tour where they got him on. Obviously, Joe Rogan's an easy one, but get him in, and obviously that's the most successful. But you got to have him on Rogan again. You got to have him on Shannon Sharp's show. You got to have him doing freaking First Take, and you got to get him on. Oh, right away.
And get him on Spanish speaking media in the U.S.
Yeah,
like
get him on Telemundo.
Him the hell up, because like I'm sure you've noticed this, but
get him to date Jennifer Lopez somehow. I know he's married, but just make it happen.
Like some weird like Illuminati conspiracy or satanic cult is desperately trying to sell F1 car racing to America, and like. What is F1? It's like the soccer of car racing. It's the European, but it's a sport that as an audience attracts like the rich and beautiful. It attracts like weird oil sheiks and weird, European oligarchs. If that's what people are trying to sell to America right now, pack him in with that. He's just like well dressed, pound for pound, best haircut in MMA. Again, yeah, like you said, he's like some kickboxing star from the 90s where he's ultra violent, but also like this sharp dressed dude that speaks 5 or 6 languages. Whoever it was, I want to catch this. Yeah, Dev, our man Devin Tejada. The world is lucky Ilia isn't 6 feet tall. That's correct. Like,
yeah,
if Ilia Topuria was 6 feet tall, like, yeah. It'd be this Genghis Khan type thing where 300 years from now, 5% of the world's population could trace their ancestry straight back to Ilia Topuria.
Yeah, dude. The guy is unbelievable. I mean, I just think this. I mean, this guy. What is it that's holding back? I understand he's doing the European tour. He's done that a lot. They filled soccer stadiums and everything. But to promote him, I mean, his next fight he needs to headline that New York City card. That New York City in November, have his face in Times Square on a humongous billboard against. Dude, I understand the European. I get it. I understand Patty is the man in England and the Scouser thing and all that. And I understand Topuria is from Spain. And normally I would argue you got to do these big fights in Europe. I would argue that. This is an exception. That's got to headline New York City. It has to. It has to be the headline. Could you imagine those two guys, big billboards? You're down in Times Square, and you've been there, right? And you got. I want a friggin' Topuria on the big screen, just knocking out, and the other side, I want Patty on the other side doing his shit, knocking guys out, submitting them, and all that. Have them friggin' at the stock exchange, friggin' ringing the bell and doing all that shit, and having a face off on the top of the Empire State Building or inside the Statue of Liberty or some shit. Like, have freaking Trump in the front row. Like, this guy is. I don't know if they've ever had anybody as marketable as him since Conor.
Yeah, really, since Conor.
And I'm living in the moment. I know I'm living in the moment.
But and the difference, a difference between him and Conor is. He'll say things that are a little edgy, but even so, he seems very, very unlikely to do something that is either going to get him shelved for a year or seriously, seriously embarrass the UFC. It's hard to picture him just punching some dude in a pub.
No.
Or getting accused of rape over and over and over again, like Conor.
Let's hope not. Yeah. Let's hope not. But you got to have him take a picture with Taylor Swift or I don't know who. I don't know who's I'm not in the pop culture, but who's the hot Spanish chick right now? I know I said Jennifer Lopez. She's 56 years old. Okay. And I know he's married, so I take it for what it's worth. But whoever that hot girl is, get him. I don't know. Tell him to dump his wife and go start dating that girl. Get in tabloids. This guy's unbelievable. And obviously I'm joking, but They showed 3 guys. You're the UFC. I've kind of already suggested who I'm going with. Gaethje, Patty, Armin Sarukian. You got 3 phone calls. You pick up the phone. Who you calling first? First, second, third. How's your phone call order?
You know me. I'm calling Sarukian. I'm the weirdo that's all about deserve. I know it's terrible. It's why I don't run the UFC.
I don't want to listen to that nonsense anymore. I don't want. I'm just kidding. Sorry.
Oh.
All right, so keep going. Go. So I know I was super rude. Again. So Armin Sarukian.
After that, I'm calling Patty.
Okay, so Patty's second.
Yeah, Patty's second. Gaethje's third.
Yeah. So I'm intrigued by all of them. Absolutely intrigued by all of them. Obviously, I'm calling Patty first, simply because he's the hard mark. I don't want to lose that fight in case Patty loses. There's history of them. You can show that tape or that face. Obviously that the face off, so it kind of looks like the UFC's going that way. They had all 3 in the building. Topuria called them out. Like it's the makes sense. It's the most sense. It's the least. I don't know, him or Gaethje is kind of close with who's the biggest threat, but in my opinion, Sarukian is probably the biggest threat.
Sure.
But I think Patty's the most marketable at this point. Him knocking everybody out, and then Patty saying Scousers don't get knocked out. That's what I'm doing. And guys, I think that Ivan Paul put it in the chat there on it. Everyone throwing their order, 1, 2, and 3. You know who you do first.
And if you've got another name, throw it out there. If you want to make the argument that Mauricio Rufy deserves it more than one of those guys, like
now obviously the number 1 name would be Makhachev if he decides to stay, come back to lightweight. But we'll say with just those 3. But yeah, if you want to throw somebody else in, good. Does Patty deserve a title shot? No, he doesn't deserve a title shot for beating Michael Chandler. No, I get that. But who gives a shit? That's the fight to do. Because you know what? One friend messaged me about Ilia Topuria fight this week. Patty fights him, and Charles Oliveira is super popular. I just think that fight would be huge. Okay. My second one. I'm stuck. I'm really stuck between Gaethje and Sarukian. I'm going to go Sarukian because he's the biggest threat. I think talent-wise, he has, his wrestling is the biggest avenue for victory. And then I'm going Gaethje. Obviously, Gaethje, he sells, exciting. I can't see Gaethje winning.
Neither can I. Sarukian, I don't know if he's the biggest threat to win. He's certainly the biggest threat to actually make it to the final horn. He's the only one of the 3 where Topuria wouldn't be like minus 500 to finish the thing.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. You mentioned the odds and you were talking about finishing, but let's just talk odds in general. I'll give you a name. You tell me what the odds are. Just to win.
Okay. All right.
Armin Sarukian.
I think Topuria is probably around what he was for this one, right around minus 400. Having said that, I don't know if I like the odds that wide on Topuria. I think that is underestimating Sarukian a little bit because he's not spectacular. But what you asked right off the top, like, is Topuria the most skilled fighter of all time?
Which means he'll lose his next fight. And
if I had to narrow it down to like little things to pick at, we don't know what he looks like at 155 pounds in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round of a fight where he's had to do a lot of wrestling.
Ben, we might not know what he looks like.
We might never learn.
No, but we might not know what he looks like in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round fight in any fight anyways. Other than, Josh Emmett just putting up historic numbers on Josh Emmett's face. But I think you said the exact number I wrote down. I wrote down negative 400.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Justin Gaethje.
Minus 800.
I went negative 650, but okay. Dev had my exact number for Patty. I went negative 800 against Patty.
Mm-hmm.
What would you go with it? You're going higher?
Oh, well, Patty, I do you want what I would place it at, or do you want me to guess what it would be?
Both. Give me both. 'Cause
That's the one where Patty might like Topuria might come out as like minus 600 against Patty, where it should probably be greater. You know, if I can get Topuria at like minus 500, minus 600 against Patty, I'm probably hammering that. Like, just Patty's routes to. It's what I say every time we talk about a fight on one of our previews that has wide odds. You know, I start from, okay, if the big upset happens, what's it look like? Because sometimes there's a big underdog, but there is a clear route to victory. You know that Paul Craig was never out of a fight. You know that Scott Smith was never out of a fight. But Paddy Pimblett basically has Bryce Mitchell chances. It would involve him. It would involve Topuria making a massive mistake on the ground that we've never seen him make.
The only thing I would say Patty has is a massive size advantage. I mean, he's even bigger than Charles Oliveira. He's huge.
Yeah,
that's it.
This is true.
I got a negative 800 against Paddy Pimblett. So when the knockout happened, before they even showed the guys in the crowd, and I just kept thinking the same thing over and over and over again. I love Jack Della Maddalena. I mean, what a performance he put on against Bilal Muhammad. But I don't give a shit about seeing that fight versus Islam Makhachev. I hate that Islam Makhachev has left the division.
Yes.
Because there isn't a bigger fight to do than Islam Makhachev versus Ilia Topuria. That would be up there for the most exciting fights I've ever, I've really spent time to dig in. It's there.
If it doesn't happen, if it becomes the GSP versus Anderson Silva of this generation in the sport, that will be a real damn shame.
Dude, Topuria's so nuts. They asked him at the press conference, if Makhachev moves up to 170 and wins the title or doesn't win the title, and people want to see you fight, does he have to come back down to 150? And he's like, no, it'd be better if I go up to 170. Yeah, that's the kind of shit he would do. Like, I could see him being like, I want a third belt, and try to fight Makhachev at 170. Or I mean, don't count out Jack Della Maddalena if he wins.
Yeah.
We just did it. Give me who's the favorite. We'll go 155. At 155, who would be the betting favorite right now?
Between Islam and Topuria? I think it would be a pick'em. I think Islam might end up being a tiny favorite by fight time.
Yeah. That's
tiny.
And we've seen what Makhachev has done to everybody. For him to be a tiny favorite, negative 120, something like that.
Yeah.
Dude, sign me up for that fight.
Well, if Islam were to win, he would have to do something that we've never seen done to Topuria, whereas we've seen Islam get clocked by a single shot by a real hard hitter. That's his one loss to date.
Yeah. Yep, we've seen him.
The guy who did that to him was no Ilia Topuria.
Yeah, and we've seen him have close fights with Alex Volkanovski. Yeah. Man. You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, I think my internet froze up for a second. So, let's stop with Charles Oliveira for a second. Obviously, not a good night for Charles Oliveira. Still, you can see how the crowd reaction to him all through press fight week. They were booing Topuria. I mean, Charles Oliveira is probably the only guy in history I can remember that doesn't speak a word of English to get as much of a cult following. What are you doing with him?
I would put him in the cult following, no English, along literally with like Fedor, Jose Aldo. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about Fedor. That's up there. I'm giving him
Oliveira's fought.
Give him against
Gaethje again. Gaethje again works for me. If you think, okay, Oliveira doesn't have a real good route back to the title picture, and you want to throw him in against Mauricio Rufy, if you want to throw him in against Max Holloway, if he beats Dustin Poirier, or even if he loses to Dustin Poirier, there are only a few fresh faces for Oliveira. I'd love to see him against a fresh face because I don't think Oliveira's done by any stretch of the imagination. He could very easily go from here and knock off 4 top 10 fighters in a row in his next 4 fights. What happened tonight is not really about Charles Oliveira. It's about Ilia Topuria.
Yeah, 100% agree. 100, like, if you told me right now that Charles Oliveira is head and shoulders the second best fighter in 155 in the world, like, I believe you.
I mean, if Topuria were to move up to 170 chasing after Islam, who's the UFC lightweight champ a year from now? It might be Charles Oliveira. I don't think he's done.
I was thinking about Topuria. I can see Topuria fighting Makhachev, knocking Makhachev out, be so crazy and be like, hey, Habib, how much you weighing? 210? I'll be up to 210 in no time. It's like calling out him. Like, that's the kind of guy this guy is. Anyways, we still got 10 more fights to cover, so we got to speed up. And a lot of these are some big ones. So, co-main event, flyweight title fight. A card that 2 of the biggest fights on the card were flyweight, which we don't see often. I am very excited about that. Alexandre Pantoja had a rematch defending his title against Kai Kara-France, winning by 3rd round sub. Joe Rogan said this one thing, and I might agree with it. Somehow, when he should be declining, Pantoja is getting better.
He is absolutely getting better. These guys fought 9 years ago, and at the time, Kai Kara-France was a 23-year-old who I think was dropping down to 125 for the first time in his career. You would expect that Kara-France would have made up some ground in the meantime, but no. Pantoja looked incredible, and partway into the second round, after a borderline 10-8 first round, I was saying in the Sherdog chat, it's a little more hyperkinetic and more violent, but this feels like a Demetrius Johnson performance where he is just 3 steps ahead of an elite fighter everywhere. Like, how brilliant to open this fight by going out, basically faking like he's going to just get in a wild brawl, because Kai Kara-France is the only kind of measured, hard-hitting counterpuncher in a flyweight top 15 full of swing-first maniacs. So he has made basically all of his hay that way. Pantoja fakes that, gets an easy-ass takedown, and has Kara-France drowning for the next 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Then second round, Pantoja actually runs right at him, like swings 3 glancing punches, and gets the easiest double leg in UFC flyweight history. It just, Kara-France is a very skilled, he is an elite fighter at an incredible camp, a camp that I've come out before and said is at least 1/2 of the smartest, most prepared corners I've seen in city kickboxing. And Pantoja just had him looking completely unprepared for the speed and the precision that he was going to have to deal with. Unbelievable performance by Pantoja. And obviously it's going to fade into the background a little bit just because of what happened in the main event, but what a performance by Alexandre Pantoja. And yeah, Rogan nailed it. At 35 in this division, 35 is when your previous champ, Davison Figueiredo, really kind of started to show some cracks. He didn't fall off a cliff, but Moreno kind of just gradually gained ground on him and then passed him as they fought 4 times. And then he moved up. Pantoja just looks absolutely unbelievable. My quiet MVP of the night. Well, I got 2 MVPs of the night that weren't there. One is Cedric Dumas. Anytime you don't want to fight on a UFC card, be my guest. I'll always mention you in glowing terms. Number 2, in 2018 or 2019, Jussier Formiga moved from Nova Union to American Top Team. He had already retired from fighting by then, but as one of the greatest lighter weight grapplers in MMA history, and maybe the ultimate backpacking specialist, he has given people like Pantoja tools that they did not have before. Like, Pantoja was always a very good grappler and a surprisingly good conventional wrestler for a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, but he took Kara-France's back and locked up the back body triangle so effortlessly, so smoothly in both rounds. And I really do think that's a lot due to him working with Formiga every day. Just it reminds me of when Dwayne Ludwig took over Team Alpha Male and like actually got to teach his technique to guys with elite athleticism that he never had himself. It's kind of that thing where, you know, Formiga was not an athletic guy, not terribly strong, but just an incredible back control specialist. And then you teach that stuff to a guy like Alexandre Pantoja, and you look what you get. Yeesh.
Yeah, you hit two of my points right away. Like I was gonna ask a question: Is Pantoja the best back taker in UFC? Is it not the best grappling, not the best submission artist, but just back taker? Like he gets on everybody's back. Even like split decisions, super close fights, he will spend huge portion of the fights on his back. I can't think of anybody else who can do that.
It's got to be demoralizing to be getting just windpipe choked and face cranked by a dude who has Muay Thai tattooed on his arm in like huge letters. Like shit, this isn't even his favorite thing to do, and he's kicking my ass. Yeah, it's
The other thing you pointed out, and I totally agree, was like my second note I had was the way it's funny because I said this on the preview show, and somehow it still surprised me how easy he does it. Is how he will pressure his opponent with big haymakers to get them to have that brief second where they're going to load up. Now he's close to distance coming in. He landed some shots, and now he's on your hips and taking it out before you even got to respond back. It's absolutely incredible. The one thing I will say, and I know the UFC broadcast booth did, he will take times off in fights and kind of cruise. It's not that he's tired. I don't believe that. I think he just smart. He gets himself in positions where he can rest, but his opponent is not resting. And it's just building more advantage. Like I remember sitting there, like they kept pressuring. Oh, but he's getting tired. Then he goes between the second, third. Then he goes out, finishes the fight, like easily. Like no, he's not. He's the man. I mean, and the way he's locked in the sub, it was so fast. It was like okay, we just figured out like all right, the round's gonna end like this. Next man, like oh shit, it's over. He's got the sub. And Kyle France, it was a really bad performance, but I really think if he had a good performance, it wouldn't look any better. It was just such a bad stylistic matchup for him. You got a guy that really his only chance of winning was to land big haymakers. But the problem is, if you load up for big haymakers, Pantoja's going to take you down.
Yeah, there's one level of being well-rounded and having all the skills. And then there is the level of having the actual mortar in between the bricks, the presence of mind to take control of the fight and know where to take it to put you at your best advantage and throw at your opponent either what they're just not equipped to deal with skill-wise or not expecting. And in the case of Kai France, he did both. First round, he, again, just took him down so effortlessly because Kai France wasn't expecting it. So good.
So I pulled up the UFC pound for pound rankings real quick. Again, I know it's bullshit, but and obviously this has been updated since the event. I think Topuria has to go number one, Marcus number two. Maybe if you want to make an argument for Merab 3. But these are the guys currently over Pantoja. Duplessis at 4, and Clive is at 5, Volkanovski 6, Della Maddalena 7, Aspinall 8, Alex Pereira coming off a loss at 9. They have Pantoja. That's absurd.
Yeah, I expect that Pantoja is gonna jump from there.
To me, you can't have many lower than 4th.
I agree, and as much as I am a huge Merab booster, as I know you are as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I might put him 3rd now.
You can make that argument.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's Topuria, Makhachev, and then it's an argument between him and Merab. I want to actually talk about Josh Vance's performance when we get to the next fight, but obviously the UFC has brought Josh Van in the cage. He's got this black guy. He's still doing a face-off. It looks like the fight. I mean, what a run to go from where he was ranked to now fighting for the title. And probably I don't know, what are we thinking? November, October, just December.
I mean, hopefully they give him, considering that again he's fought twice in 3 weeks at this point, and he did get beat up pretty good this time.
Sure.
Hopefully, maybe they throw it like 3rd from the top or 2nd from the top on the Madison Square Garden card in November.
Oh my God, that'd be insane. That would be insane. I will say this. So, but before you get to it, you agree that's that if you're running it, that's the fight you're doing?
I I can see why it is a good fight to make, not just for sensationalism and selling tickets,
Yeah.
but because of the state of the division right now. But I wish it were not the best choice, or I wish it weren't such a good choice, because I'm not sure it's the best thing for Van.
The one warning I'll say to people, he's still at that age that 6 months from now, 4 months from now, 5 months from now, he could still be a greatly improved fighter. He can still make
we're
that
gonna
huge
talk about Peyton Talbot in about half an hour.
Yeah,
Yes, you're
exactly, yeah.
absolutely right.
And he's even younger. He's 3 years younger. I will say this, since the fight, and I'm a flyweight backer. You're a flyweight backer. We love the flyweight division.
Mhm.
This is probably the most excited I am for a flyweight title fight ever.
And that's a good thing for Pantoja. A lot of times, dominance by itself just isn't enough. Like, as dominant as Anderson Silva was, he didn't become a star until he really had a foil that could push him in the cage, push him out of his comfort zone at press conferences. Van's probably not going to do that for Pantoja, but yeah, Pantoja could use a foil. He's been kind of beating up a lot of the same dudes for a long time.
If you could give me in New York City, if you could give me somehow Topuria versus Patty with the two fights that I know MMAX is joking about Van and Pantoja headlining, but you can give me Harrison and Nunez and Van and Pantoja. I don't give a shit what you put on the rest of the card. You could find bums from the streets and pull them in. You can have no other fights on the card. You can just have 3 fights and take all my money. Like, take it all. Like, I'd cash in my life insurance, anything to be there. If you can give me those 3 fights. What are the betting odds? Pantoja versus
I think Pantoja is probably a comfortable favorite.
Well, I mean, over 200.
Mine is 250.
Oh. Lock me in for my man Van. Lock me in. It's actually at those odds. What are we doing, Cara France?
Manel Kopp?
Ooh.
Like, Kopp, he's only won 2 fights since his last loss. He keeps on missing fights, being injured, being sick. Cara France, one, it's a big enough name fight that it could headline a fight night. It could be third from the top on your average pay-per-view, maybe not your super tentpole one. And for either guy, the other is a big enough name that it actually helps them in the title discussion.
I'm giving him Ulanbekov. I think Ulanbekov.
Sure.
I mean, obviously the run he's on, I think he deserves a name. I'd give Ulanbekov. I'd put it I don't know, headlining featured prelim fight of a pay-per-view. The people's main event, Brandon Royval take on Josh Van, taking the fight on short notice. I want to talk with Royval for a second, because I want to go off on Van.
Dude, well, let me throw one thing out and agree or don't agree, because in the Sherdog chat, Dev was like, this might be Royval's best performance in the UFC.
I somewhat agree. I think it was the best striking I've seen of him. I think on the feet, I think he did the very best he could in this situation. So, that's a great question. We'll get to that, Antoine Wallace. That's a great question. Yeah. He asks, does this fight go in the UFC Hall of Fame? I'm cool if it does. That was that good. But what I liked that Royval was doing is when Van would connect with a huge shot, he would just come right back with volume. He would wouldn't let Van have that moment. He wouldn't act hurt. Even if he was hurt, he come right back around. So that was really good. I give Royval a lot of credit because he had everything to lose, nothing to gain. If he wins, it's well, yeah, you're ranked number 1. You beat the number 12 ranked guy who took the fight on short notice. So I give him a lot of credit for that. One thing I disagree with it being the best performance was his fight IQ. He's the veteran. He's supposedly had the grappling advantage. You're in the 3rd round. It's likely 1 round. I think it was 1 round each. Van's winning it, but he's not blown away until he drops him at the end. why don't you try to sneak in a takedown? Why wouldn't you try to sneak a takedown in, win the fight? Even if he gets a takedown with 3 minutes left and holds him down and he wins the fight, is it still not fight of the night? Is it still not an incredible fight?
Yeah.
And then you also get your win bonus and probably a title shot.
Agreed. And obviously, Royval has never been the highest fight IQ guy. Van's performance?
What?
I mean, obviously there's a lot to say about Van's performance.
Yeah, obviously. So one thing I mentioned like fight of the night. Forget fight of the night. This is fight of the year candidate. I mean, this
it's
is
definitely the fight of the year so far.
Yeah, it's. I think it's gonna win. I mean, it's gonna be hard to top that as our man. Who was it? I think it was Antoine. Antoine said, "Look, this could go in the UFC Hall of Fame one day. Like it was that good of a fight. If this was a title fight, it's locked for UFC Hall of Fame. It's that good." You know, and what I kept saying to someone I was watching the fights with was, it's quality versus quantity. Royval had the quantity of strikes. He didn't stop throwing punches nonstop. His output was, I don't know what the numbers are, but it had to be over 250 strikes thrown, or something like that.
Wait,
who, for Royval?
Royval? Huh? Because Van threw 400.
Oh, and then Royval probably threw even more than that.
I mean, Royval definitely outlanded him.
Yeah, and he threw more. I'm saying that I don't know what his output just strikes thrown was probably insane. Yeah. All right, so to me, it was that quality of Royval versus the quantity of Royval versus the quality of Van. Van was that first round, his right hand couldn't miss. Every time he threw the right hand, it was incredible. Obviously, the knockdown late in the fight. He's the breakthrough fighter of the year.
Yes, he is breakthrough fighter of the year. Even if he loses in a title fight, or even if they scrap it for some reason, he doesn't fight for the title. He's breakthrough fighter of the year already, no matter what. He's gone from being a somewhat promising prospect to a guy that can headline and is a realistic title contender in a single calendar year. It's the thing that people like Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira did. Yeah.
What if he gets the title shot before the end and wins? He could be fighter of the year, including.
He could be fighter of the year, and we'd have to be comparing it to some of the greatest single years of any fighter in MMA history. Then we're talking about, John Jones, Alex Pereira, Shogun Rua. You're going back to the 90s and talking about some year that Igor Vovchanchyn, went 13-0 or something. Yeah.
So I was going off on Josh Van probably about a year ago, saying how special this guy was before he was even ranked in the top 15. Saying I see a young Max Holloway. I see it. I think obviously the performance. I think he won over. I think a lot of people he's been winning over tonight. There's nobody left. I know he won you over a while ago. I was on a little before, but you were an early convert over to Josh Van. I'm doubling down to this kid is special. He's 23. Can he fix some things? Absolutely.
Sure.
But now he's showing power. Actually, he's winning. He's getting stop it. He could have got a stoppage here late in the third round, winning third round, dropping guys. I mean, he hit Royval so hard, Royval thought it was stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Not that he was saved by the bell.
And working in new wrinkles each time in his striking. I wanted to kind of give him a hard time for not going to the body quite as much as he usually does in his other fights, but then he started using that kind of sneaky little front kick to the leg that just dumped Royval on his ass multiple times.
Yeah.
Like the way already as an elite striker, he is bringing out a new wrinkle for his opponent, and in this case on 2 weeks notice. It makes me think of somebody like Robert Whittaker.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. So, I've already talked about how special. One thing I totally agree with those side push kick, oblique kick, whatever you want to call them, to the legs, which we saw late. The other thing I liked, it's one run. Royval has his best round in the second. You could have given it to Van, but I gave it to Royval. I had 1-1. and suddenly Van decides he's going to switch it up. I'm not going to let Royval, he's been the one pressing the action coming forward for 2 rounds. I'm going to be the one pressing it to him, forcing him on his back foot. Every time he steps in, trying to gain the ground back, I'm going to, kick out that leg as he does. He's shown maturity too, and under pressure, not folding. The guy who can come in, get the big hit, get the strikeout. He's that kind of guy, and he's 23. He's not even in his prime yet.
Nope.
He's not even like 4 years from now he could be entering his prime. Now I am a little worried about the damage he's taken. He's taken a lot of damage because that's what happens when you are this good, this young. So that does worry me. But if that hasn't taken its toll, man, and he obviously is going to have the biggest, test of his career fighting the champion who's a special champion. I'm not giving my boy. I'll say this: I'm not looking past my boy. Like I'm giving him a much better shot than anybody else is.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the last time someone came to the UFC and I was this comfortable calling them a future champ, like this early in their run. Because again, you've been saying this for almost a year. I was on board not too long after, and I go back to kind of when Chris Weidman and Luke Rockhold arrived in the UFC around the same time. And it's like, okay, both these guys are probably future champs.
Yeah. Well, man. So the reason why you said Manal Cup for Car France, the reason why I didn't say Cup, I was just having him and Royval supposed to fight each other.
Yeah.
I'm giving Cup Royval. Did you have a name for Royval though?
Yeah, I was going to give him the winner of, give him either Alex Perez or Steve Erceg, who are fighting like first week or second week of August. Like Royval's going to need a little extra recuperation time. His face is busted the hell up.
Oh God.
So
Yeah, and I know we talk about how great Van was. How fucking tough is Brandon Royval? Holy, dude, he got tagged with some big shot. And, dude, if you're not a Brandon Royval fan, what the hell's the matter?
Yeah.
Anyway, before that, Renato Moicano took on Beneil Dariush in the fight we've been waiting for a long time, and the battle of the old man. Well, the even older man got the victory. Dariush looked awesome. Other than getting dropped briefly in like this 10-second spurt, he won every other moment of the fight.
That's pretty much it. He got dropped, recovered, which is fantastic, and yeah, he won 14 and a half minutes of this fight and looked better. Looked better physically. Went back to the things that he's always been good at. This is one of the fights that we differed on. I picked Moicano. You picked Dariush. You were dead right, but even the areas where I thought Moicano was likely to have the event, I thought Moicano was going to chew Dariush up on the feet based on how they kind of looked over the last 18 to 24 months. But Dariush just fighting smart, kicking his legs, nailing him with body kicks to the open side multiple times, which a guy that is just such a savage and has traditionally as good a chin as Moicano, taking advantage of that, opposite stances, open side, just kicking him to the body. Brilliant stuff. And then really dominant in the grappling. Showed himself to be more positionally sound, physically stronger, a better wrestler. And so it was almost a throwback. It just, Moicano looked like a 2006 throwing up low percentage shit from my back type Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, which he normally, he is at his worst, but seemed to be kind of getting past that and realizing that his best way to actually win fights in the 2020s is to go to the ground and land on top or keep things on the feet. Like Dariush, brilliant performance.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think you hit everything perfectly. The leg kicks just never allowed Moicano to get in his range and to do the work he wanted to do. And then add in that, obviously the kicks. And then I thought Moicano really made a mistake. Like, it looked like Dariush was interested in not grappling. I know Moicano dropped Dariush and Dariush was hurt and he was able to kind of take his back quick. And I don't think he realized that was I hurt the guy, so I had to like he had a split ball, like he was like flash knocked for a second, so I was able to take his back. When he tried initiating a takedown early, it was like, oh yeah, Darius is one of the greatest grapplers of all time, and has a huge wrestling advantage. Once Darius took him down, got on top of how easy he could dominate there. Why wouldn't Darius keep looking for takedowns and wrestling?
Yeah.
Wrestling the whole second round was really smart. He looked good. I doubt that Darius will ever win the UFC title. I mean, he's older. It's obviously not only is he older, but it's also like Murder's Row division. I mean, come on, Topuria is a champion now. But I will say this: I would love to see it. I mean, other than maybe when I'd be glad to share one or Dustin Poirier one for title. Like, I don't know if they ever fight for a title, I would want to win just because just such a good dude. Yeah. I'm 100% convinced like his neighbor has like his hammer right now. Or Darius this week cut like an old lady's grass in the neighborhood just so I got to cut weight anyway, so I might as well go cut Wendy's grass for her or some shit. That division's so tough. It's hard to really like. I'm not gonna push him up too high, Darius. I'm gonna give him Dan Hooker. Give me like a pay-per-view opener.
I've got 3 names, and one of them has to be crossed out since Pimblett is apparently getting a title shot now. Chandler Holloway.
Okay. You're going big. So if Holloway wins, does it change if Holloway wins versus Holloway loses?
Not terribly much, because Holloway has no clear path to a title shot for as long as Ilia is there anyway.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
So it's like, find a decent name that he has a decent chance of beating and isn't laughable. But yeah.
What are you doing with my name, McConnell?
In that case, I'd either give him Chandler again, like anything to get Chandler off the bench, and if it's a big enough name that they could headline a fight night together,
he'll say
or
McConnell say funny shit.
Yeah. Or it becomes not about what Moicano deserves, but about using him as a name for, again, a Mauricio Rufy, Ignacio Bamondes, Joel Alvarez type that's kind of the new generation.
Yeah, we had the same exact name. I had Michael Chandler. I'm having him on like a pay-per-view, like an opener, because I want them at the press conference because McConnell says really fun stuff at the press conference. Chandler has this charisma about him, even though he doesn't say like he's not really a trash talker, but he has a charisma about being the most exciting and all this, and he is exciting. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I'm having them open up a pay-per-view card.
If Dariush and Chandler fight, like, I don't know what the odds between them would be, but like Jesus is going in at like minus 2,800.
Yeah. So I was putting him against Moicano, but yeah. The opener of the pay-per-view, Peyton Talbot took on Felipe Lima. I always say this about Peyton Talbot: this dude must hit really hard, because Lima was talking about how much power he has, and Lima was doing well in the striking, and decided I don't want to strike him.
Yeah, and that was not a great soundbite, but I applaud his honesty. And the funny thing is, and this is something that, to your credit, you talk about all the time, because the scouting report on Peyton Talbot coming into the UFC and through at least, his first fight or so was he throws an unbelievable amount of volume, and he's surprisingly accurate for a guy that throws 100 strikes around. And he wasn't like a massive one-shot hitter. It was more of the Max Holloway, Calvin Kattar, just death by 1,000 cuts type thing. But as you point out, they usually start to come into their power around age 25 to 28. I mean, Talbot is kind of getting into that range. He looked physically bigger and stronger. And this is, again, another thing that you say, a fighter this young can make big adjustments and big improvements between fights. He clearly went back to the drawing board after losing to Honey Barcelos, and was like, I am not getting bullied around again, because he looked to have put on 5 to 7 pounds of muscle, and where I thought Lima probably was going to be the stronger guy if they got their hands on each other, that didn't seem to be the case. So Talbot just better able to kind of take care of himself in those bully clinch and wrestling situations. And I think it made a difference in his power too. This is another one that I did not pick right, and yeah, I thought Lima was gonna just be a little too much for him, and no, Talbot looked fantastic.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, like, and I want to shout Mr. C in the chat was talking about, you know, his wrestling improvements, obviously his defensive wrestling, but not just his defensive, but his ability to get up if he's taken down. I mean, he had a Granby roll, which, you know, always excites me, and then we didn't see the absolutely insane output. I think some of that had to do with Lima constantly shooting at him, but we still saw what made him special, and that was on the gas. When he was on the feet, he was pressuring forward, and then Lima kept missing takedowns, which also, sucking out his energy that way. So two things are kind of going wrong with Lima. And Lima, I'm not like going to be completely sold on Talbot's defense because some of it was Lima diving in with his head down and stuff, but overall, I mean, like, Talbot looks good. He's got a backing. You get on a pay-per-view opener of a, international fight week, you can't get the name he probably should at this point in his career. He's still got to get a big name. So I'm giving him the winner of Bryce Mitchell versus Saeed Nurmagomedov.
Okay, so you know what? I don't even think you're necessarily further up the ladder than me. Just I had a different one. I'm looking at the winner of Davey Grant versus Damon Blackshear.
Yeah, talent-wise, I think mine's a bigger name, but yeah. I think talent-wise, yours might even be even harder than mine.
Yeah, it's, they're comparable. I think we're kind of in the same place mentally there. Like, there's no reason to push the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if the fight's high in the card in your matchup, it's because Talbot. It's high in the card because of both guys, especially if Bryce Mitchell was. Yeah. Lima, I'm not hating on Lima, so I'd give him a decent matchup. I think he looked good. I'm going to give him a name for what it's worth. I'm giving Cody Garbrandt.
I don't hate that. It's funny because Peyton Talbot called out Adrian Yanez after this. Yanez is a Houston guy. I like him a lot personally. I just think he's a good dude, but he's lost 3 of 4. I thought that was kind of inappropriate. I actually had Adrian Yanez as one of 2 names for Felipe Lima, either him or like Alatang Haley.
Okay.
Like a former, like a guy that formerly kind of scraped the bottom of the top 15, but has not been on the best run of late, but still a solid test.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Pete Tal was past him. Like I kind of agree. Like there was like a weird, like it was almost like a step down in a call out. So before that, Jack Hermanson took on Gregory Rodriguez. We'll talk about the death in a minute, but Rodriguez won by first round TKO. What surprised me was how controlled Rodriguez was, and I kind of liked it. I mean, obviously it finished well, but if he can come out like a Tasmanian devil and get stoppage, but also if he can control himself, his boxing has really cleaned up. He's a better. I mean, he came out looking great against Cannonier. If he came out like a 10, if he came out an 8, he probably wins that fight. So, I mean, and Hermanson, I thought kind of put himself in a really tough position. One, Hermanson, like he didn't cut angles. He was kind of circling near the cage, which he didn't like the pressure, and Hermanson did not look like himself. Usually he's L stepping, he's moving. He was just hating the pressure from Rodriguez. So obviously he's been out for a long time. Obviously he's getting up there in age, shows some signs of decline, and then he got absolutely torched with a shot. I mean, knocked into next week. Brutal. I mean, the fact that they had to keep giving updates during the broadcast shows you how bad he was knocked out. My wife was watching the fights with me at this point. She went off, but like how she doesn't understand fighting, but she was going crazy about why would he hit him? That he was so out, like that was so dirty. And I'm like, I blame Herb Dean for that. I don't blame him. Yeah, like would have been nice if he did a Lyoto Machida moment and he didn't hammer fist him and he kind of bowed. Yes, that'd be nice.
No, like, and I mean, we've had this conversation. We both married up in terms of quality of human beings. Like you married a teacher, I married a nurse. Like my wife looks over my shoulder. She's like, okay, you can tell from the way his toes are pointed which part of his brain is dead right now. No, like she literally will diagnose that shit. She's like, okay, his toes are pointing down and in. It means that like this part of his brain bounced off the mat, if his toes are pointed out, then like they're like,
What if? But Ben, what if she's full of shit and she's just trying to make sounds like you can't question her? Oh well, it's the frontal cortex based on this because of the Abdullah oblongata. Like, are you gonna be like, no? I was talking with my
I'm the guy that held the
bandmate.
flashcards for her, like through all this. So unfortunately I know that she knows her shit.
Be like, I was talking with my bandmates, and we disagree with you.
Yeah, and I've seen all those guys unconscious, not from concussions.
Yeah, yeah. She could tell. She could tell if a guy got knocked out, if it was by a punch or by drinking, based on the toes.
Yeah, like that was. Hermansson was as knocked out as I've seen somebody in the UFC in a year or two.
Yeah, it was bad. He'll probably be out for a while. I think at this point, he was never. I mean, he'd headline when he was never the most marketable. Doesn't have a fan base. I'm kind of using him to. I don't know if we get over the next person because I don't believe in this guy that too much. But I'm giving Hermansson the Mansur Abdul Malik guy. He's undefeated. I don't think he had a great showing in his last fight, but give me like that as like I don't know, pay-per-view opener or something, or a fight night, like co-main event.
Man, if Mansur Abdul Malik keeps looking like he has, that might be Jack Hermansson's retirement fight right there.
Okay.
I like that better than what I had, because I was just going to take the Roman Kopylov Paulo Costa fight that was supposed to take place here, got bumped back like 3 weeks, and match him up against the winner and loser of that. But given how badly Hermansson was knocked out, that might not be realistic.
Yeah.
Unless Kopylov wins and Costa doesn't fight for another 6 months anyway.
Yeah.
But
I
like using him to test someone like Mansur Abdul Malik better anyway. But I do like Rodriguez against the winner of Kopylov versus Costa.
Yeah. So the reason why I waited, usually like tonight, I've been doing the matchmaking with the winner before I do the loser. Yeah. The reason why I decided to wait on Rodriguez, I'm going to surprise you who I'm going with.
No, not Ilia Topuria. He has to fight at least once at welterweight before he goes.
Dude, I don't know if I don't know if I'd favor Rodriguez over Topuria right now. Holy shit. I might give him Israel Adesanya.
Okay, sure.
Like third fight on top from pay-per-view. I mean, that's kind of the range that he is right now.
You know what? We have a question here from Iman Report. Like I'm if I can address it for a sec. He says fact or fiction, Herb Dean gets suspended by the Nevada Athletic Commission.
No.
Fiction. They for one thing, the answer is going to be always no in that case. But here's the thing, and I'm trying to speak as carefully as possible here because reffing MMA is a hard
sure.
job.
Sure.
But Herb Dean is incredibly busy as a ref. Like he's one of the main reasons why the California State Athletic Commission made a new regulation that you can't ref in California the day after you refed in New Jersey or New York, because greedy refs were just, being too busy. They weren't necessarily showing up at their best. But Herb Dean is constantly on the road in places like Russia, Georgia, Azerbaijan, over in the Far East. These middle of the road promotions will bring him in and actually pay him more than they pay any of their fighters, just because he is a celebrity ref. Sure. And he lends credibility to their promotions just by being there. I almost wish he would just go do that, like teach his courses, because the thing is, he does know his stuff. He knows the rules.
Yeah.
His problems reffing are not that he doesn't know the rules. They're that he's in his 50s.
Sure.
And even if he's in position, he may not have the foot speed or at this point the confidence to just go in here. I mean, I was talking to a local official here that I know, and it's like Dean was actually in position, but a more on the ball ref would have just barged in there, pushed Rodriguez out of the way, and protected the hurt fighter. Because if you're moving in for a TKO stoppage, you're moving in to protect the hurt fighter. You're not moving in just so that the timekeeper knows what to write down as the time of the TKO.
Yeah, exactly.
You are protecting the dude that got knocked the fuck out.
Yeah, it's got to look like when Reagan got shot and Secret Service guys would jump. As soon as they heard a shot, they'd jumping all over him. Like that's what it's got to look like.
Yeah, that's that's pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Herb Dean would be good if he was just the guy. How like he's the oh, well, someone gets poked in the eye. What do we do here? What's this? Like, if the referee comes over and talk, like, just be his filter job. You're outside the cage, and you kind of set you're the rules guy.
So the thing they use Mark Ratner for, just take Mark Ratner's robe and slippers and
Yeah,
take
I
that
mean,
job.
Matt
Or
Ratner's,
make him the replay ref.
I,
Because you know what? If he has all the time in the world, or like he has 2 full minutes to like play back a 2-second sequence, he'd be great.
Yeah. When I think of Herb Dean, the thing I'm always thinking of is Tim Sylvia getting his arm broken against Frank Mir, which was like the all-time great refereeing, where he saw Tim Sylvia's arm get broken, and Tim Sylvia was so insanely tough he tried to fight. But that was like freaking 20-something years ago.
Was it 21 years ago? Yeah.
And someone said he was the greatest referee then, and that shit has just stayed, and it's just not true. Anyways, that was a good line. All right, so this is the time of the show where we take a very brief break from talking about MMA. We'll get to the rest of the fights where we do. Some people say the favorite portion of the show, it's the Know Your Host time. Our question this week, I picked, Ben will have a better question next week, is, Ben, when you were a little kid, what did you want to do for a living? Do you want to go first or second?
I'll go second. Well, actually, I'll go first because I don't have a very good one.
All right.
If you asked me when I was a real little kid, I wanted to be like a dinosaur or a choo-choo train, things that are patently physically impossible. If you'd asked me when I was in like 3rd grade, I would have said like an astronaut. If you asked me in 6th grade, I would have said a professional athlete. Once I realized, like, by that point, I was already the shortest and tiniest kid in all my classes. And even like in my so-called athletic prime, I was like 5'9" and 152 pounds. So the people that play major league sports at that size are much, much faster than I am. So past about age 16, I've had no plan whatsoever. I've had to try to explain this to my kids as they see me with like a decent car and a decent house and way too many guitars behind me. I'm like, your dad has never had a plan. He's been incredibly lucky, but luck is not a business plan. You guys should stay in school or know what you want to do. Because I guess I am what I wanted to be. Like,
you know what? When I got an idea for you, when you are done doing MMA, which I'm sure one day you'll want to retire a little slower. The hours are tough. The schedule, I mean, it's a great job, but you get what I'm saying. When you want to slow down a little bit, I think you should open up your own business and have it be like a locally owned, like kind of like Guitar Center type store.
Okay.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying a Guitar Center itself, but like, one of those stores you're selling guitars or, Ben's.
I mean, the other guitarist in my band, built 2 of the guitars you see behind me. He built the amp I play on stage. Like, he actually is he's a boutique builder of rock guitar equipment. Like, I could see doing something like that, or hell, I could work with him. Yeah.
I think our show is going to be a really boring one this week for Know Your Hosts. I'm doing what I wanted to be as a kid. Since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to be a police officer, and not to get like sentimental or anything like that. I people have asked me this before, and I super appreciate it. And hey, how come you don't do MMA full time and this and that? And I don't know if I've had opportunities, but I've had some people like kind of interested. And hey, would you write for this site? I'm not saying full time gigs or anything. As a retirement job, yeah, maybe one day. And I don't mean, I shouldn't say that it's not a retirement job, but like when I retire from the police force, I love what I do, guys. I really do. It's long hours. But I just love being a police officer. So, and I love being a detective even more. So, I'm doing what I always love. So, people throw in the chat. We'll throw up what you guys want to do when you were a kid. So, and I kind of glad that was our question this week, because we still got a lot of shit to talk about. So we made it a little quicker than usual, but we'll read out anybody's. He was a luthier. That's actually what I wanted to be in middle school. I don't know what a luthier is. What is a luthier?
A luthier is a musical instrument builder.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know that.
I guarantee your wife knows it.
Chris Wiss says, we deserve a major crime story. I had a very major crime, the major, and I was the lead detective on it, and I solved it and made a huge arrest. If you can figure out what I'm saying if you Google my city. I'm very proud of that moment that I had this week. But let's move on. Hyder Mill put his undefeated record up against Jose Delgado, and he is no longer undefeated as Jose Delgado, won by first round TKO. We had a good week in picks.
You had a good week. I had a lousy one. We
Yeah, I was
disagreed
trying
on
to be
3
nice.
fights, and you were right on all of them. So
Okay, I was trying to be nice. Yeah, I think I went 9-2 on my picks. But this is one that we both went consensus upset pick. I think we had another consensus with Van.
Van, yeah,
Van,
Van and Emil.
okay. So we won 1-2 for the consensus upset picks. This is the one we fell flat on our face. Jose Delgado won by first round TKO. Delgado caught him as clean as possible. Nice knee right up the middle. Kind of came out like Emil comes out fast. Delgado came right back at him like it was like it was just two guys that like they like they were trying to get knockout like record time. They were coming out swinging. Do you believe in Delgado? I mean, this is a big step up from Conor Matthews, and he absolutely aced the test. You believe in him?
Not only do I cautiously believe in Delgado, I'm not totally jumping off the train on Hyder Emil either. Because again, Hyder Emil is a surprisingly fun knockout artist who's already 35 years old. I think he's still that. I think Hyder Emil is probably still going to settle into what I thought he was going to be after his first UFC fight anyway. A guy that's going to win 2, lose 1, and pick up a whole lot of bonuses along the way. Like I'm not off whatever kind of Hyder Emil bandwagon I was on.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about Emil because of his age, and yeah, I kind of do believe. I mean, he had this was a great win. I mean, that's what I mean by like I liked Emil. Like he kind of won me over, so knocking him out, that's a great win. So, yeah. Before that, actually, let's matchmake Delgado real quick. What'd you do with Delgado?
I believe he called for William Gomez. Gomez is coming off a loss. Delgado's coming off a win. But obviously, Gomez has been in the UFC much longer. And because he's French, he's had greater card placement. So I'm fine if they want to give him that. Or if you want to give Delgado a name that's not off the charts too much in terms of competitive, Edson Barboza and Drakkar Klose are fighting in like 5 or 6 weeks. You could give him one of those guys.
Yeah, I was giving him Sean Woodson as like a co-main event, but
okay. But, so yeah, you've got him a little farther up the ladder than I do. Like,
but honestly, I don't mind the Gomez call out. Like if he wants that fight, that's in the usually like if you're in the range of guy I'm looking at and you call him out, I'm cool with that. So yeah, Gomez is cool. Before that, kind of buried on the card, though they were highly ranked. Tracy Cortez took on Vivian Araujo. Cortez winning by first round decision. I thought Cortez looked great. I think, I mean, I was really impressed by her grappling. Her top selling grappling was very good. I liked her ground and pound. Like that's something we always can see in her wrestle, but we didn't see that. A lot of times we see her like stalling out. She was landing hard shots and scrambles. And I'm still, you know me, I've not been completely sold on Tracy Cortez. I'm still a little worried about her speed on the feet and people she can't take down. And to me, Araujo was kind of helping her win the fight because she was circling that like warning track area, giving her the opportunities to pressure and get the takedowns. So I don't know if she had to fight through something that I don't believe in, something that's showing that she's better than she is. But I feel a little bit better. Like, what do you think about this fight?
I picked Araujo in the pretty big upset here because, and I think I said this on the preview, even though Cortez is younger and even though she is probably at least comparably skilled everywhere, I just don't trust Tracy Cortez to win competitive fights yet. She has become somebody who is good at winning MMA fights for all the reasons you said. She beat Araujo. She did it without engaging in any weird low IQ, high risk activities, just went out and won a fight doing the stuff that she's better at. And some of that can be laid at the feet of Araujo, but most of it, I give Cortez the credit. Like next time Tracy Cortez is a 2.5 to 1 favorite, I'm not going to automatically start thinking, okay, how does she manage to gack away 2 close rounds at women's flyweight? Just so few women in that division will just do solid work from top position and like land some hard strikes. So yeah.
Yeah, I would just like to see her be more active. Obviously, I mean, there's nothing we can control about that, but just because she's super marketable. I mean, she's pretty. She has the old, Hispanic
Yeah.
connection. She's in the commercials.
You love Dallas Fort Worth. You go to Dallas Fort Worth. 20% of the women look like Andrea Lee. 20% of them look like Tracy Cortez, and the other 60% look like Blagoy Ivanov because fuck Dallas.
Who looks like what? Who?
Blagoy Ivanov.
What? I don't know.
I'm not a fan of Dallas. Like, no, this sports wise, they're a rival. Like,
I don't know about Dallas itself, but Fort Worth is freaking dope.
Yeah.
So, but I'm very excited. In a little over about 6 weeks or so, or I will get to experience. I've only been to Dallas Fort Worth when it comes to Texas. I will be experiencing a different area. I'm going to Houston area where Ben is from. We're going to be going to Crystal Lake, which is it where's that area that's in?
I actually am not sure. I've not been there.
It's
in
the
Crystal Lake. I just think of the Friday the 13th movies.
What's the big city also over there?
Well, you're going to Galveston, aren't you?
Galveston, yeah, it's in Galveston.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
I mean, Galveston is an island off the,
Okay, and then Crystal Lake is, I guess Crystal Lake is on Galveston, so I don't really know how it works. So, but me and Ben are finally going to hopefully get to meet each other in person, in the flesh, and yeah, I'm super excited with that. What are we doing, Cortez?
Oh, Cortez. Here's the problem. Cortez, because she's been kind of hanging around, has had a couple losses just at the wrong times and absences. She hasn't been able to build momentum. She's already fought a lot of people. This is more about what her opponent deserves than what she does, but I'm giving her Natalia Silva. Assuming that Silva isn't next, because Silva could slide into a title shot next. Silva's won like 7 in a row, and she's kind of marketable in her own way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if she needs another fight, yeah, make it Tracy Cortez. Because here's the thing: if Cortez beats Silva and stays healthy, where she can fight again in 3 or 4 months, she's starting to become a serious, it starts to become more and more a deal that Cortez has not fought Valentina Shevchenko yet.
Yeah, I think Silva simply just comes down to Silva gets the title shot. If Weili Zhang doesn't want to move up, he gets the title shot. I went with Alexa Grasso, but Alexa Grasso headlining a fight night card. That's what I would do. Ada Rougeau, she's kind of in a tough situation. She's at the point where you're kind of just using her somewhat name value left to get over the next generation. I'm putting against Wang Kong. Give me her, Wang Kong, in like a, I don't know, featured prelim of a pay-per-view or something like that.
That works for me.
This next fight was about a 1 minute long, kind of how we expected. We said very well, good chance. Terrence McKinney took on Vyacheslav Borisov, what do they call him? The Santa. I can't
Slava Claus, yeah.
This Slava Claus. I messed this guy. The minute, 1 minute of Terrence McKinney is a scary thing. I think it was very smart for him to take the fight to the ground immediately. I'm keeping this fight under 1 minute because it's only 1 minute itself. Give me, I don't know, McKinney versus Mike Davis, Mitch Ramirez winner.
Cool. I had Manuel Torres, but I like yours just as well.
That works. What do you think about?
He's never going to string together enough wins, short of a Charles Oliveira type reinvention. He's never going to string together enough wins to actually contend in that ridiculous division. But damn if he is an appointment viewing.
Yeah, you know how I feel about McKinney. He's the guy that could lose to Mitch Ramirez and also could knock out the champion. You never know what's going to happen. Before that, I mean, on paper, this was a mismatch. The odds were incredibly lopsided. Nico Price took on Jacoby Smith, and it was exactly what was advertised. Jacoby Smith winning by second round sub. I'm all in. This kid has all the talent to be special. I'm sold.
He's frightening, and you know what? Price actually did things that you would want to see someone testing a prospect like Smith. He hit him a couple times. Like, we had to see Smith in the second round. Smith was visibly a little slowed down and a little more tired. Even though he won the first round handily. It's baby steps. Obviously, Smith still has a ton to prove, but if you're gonna make a 20-1 favorite type matchup, we did at least learn a few things about Smith, or at least he learned a few things about himself, he and his coaches. In such a dominant performance, they actually have things they can go back to the drawing board and improve so that maybe he doesn't take that one weird loss on the way up.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a good point. I actually think like this was a good thing for him to have some, little pushback against him. I think the athleticism is there. The wrestling obviously is there. He's got big power, improving his striking, improving his grappling. The cardio is a little sketchy. I do believe that it might be some of that. He looks more tired than he is, because obviously when they were talking about how gassy he was and he gets a submission, say what you want about Price isn't a bad grappler. So Southern Price is pretty good. So, yeah, nice. And the opening fight, Jonathan Denise taking on Alvin Hayes, Denise winning by unanimous decision. Say what you will. We dogged on this fight, low level, and it did change my opinion of them being low level heavyweights. But this is surprisingly a really fun fight to watch.
It was what I hope for when I get an unranked heavyweight fight on the undercard. At least it wasn't two exhausted dudes after 4 minutes just slapping titties and neither guy has enough energy or skill to finish the other. Just death march. No. And there are some things that Jonathan Denise is actually pretty good at. Jonathan Denise is going to win his next two fights, and he's going to get a top 15, if not top 10 matchup, because that's what heavyweight is like right now.
I'll say this about Hines. I mean, Hines is extremely low UFC talent. I mean, he's just not a skilled heavyweight, but he's a tough SOB. He's got heart, cardio that'll give some guys trouble. He's going to win 1 or 2 fights in the UFC over guys who are more skillful just by being heart and toughness. I understand what you're saying about Denise. My issue is the guy he fought is so raw that I'm not sure he's improved the areas that people think he has improved. Like I like that he was stopping takedowns, but the takedowns were so ugly. They weren't set up. He was making. There was one point he had a double leg, and he had a double leg, and he had his head like say like his head, like the opponent's body is here. So the opponent's body's on this side of your head. You push in with that head. It's like having and he's trying to pull him over his own head. I'm like, dude, he's doing like this is like youth wrestling shit. Yeah. Like kids, youth wrestling don't know. So
you know what? He if he fought Justin Taffa, we wouldn't have even been able to see that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So I mean, so I'll give him that. I mean, he has a good record, Denise. So I agree with his striking. His striking is clean. You know, he's got pretty good striking. Like I don't think he'll be a. I love Matu said, I love youth wrestling. I coach youth wrestling, so I did. But I can like a Mick Parkin, like a step up in competition if he beats him. If he can outbox Mick Parkin, then okay, now I'm starting to believe him.
And I think of him as kind of the Brazilian version of Mick Parkin or Waldo Cortez Acosta, a guy that looks a little tubby, but he's not actually that bad an athlete and has pretty fast hands. I gave him Muhammad Usman just because I want to see what he looks like against someone who actually at least does know how to shoot a double leg, like which way to go. But yeah, I'm fine with any unranked heavyweight. It's heavyweight.
Yeah, all right. So now we've covered all 11 fights. I know we had a fight got canceled. I mean, it was the Dubas fight. They kept like that thing was what a mess. But yes, Chris was. I thank you, man. That was the yes, I was the lead detective on that. So thank you, Brett. That's not my first one, but that's about the 20th one. But still, no matter what, they always feel very special. So thank you, man. Sorry, it got me distracted for a second. I'm not gonna throw that on the chat, but if you're live, you can see what he's talking about. But thanks, buddy. Let's do the fun stuff. So we've done all 11 fights. Let's do the fun stuff. Let's start with dudes seriously. Ben, I don't have that many. I don't have that many. I was hanging out with a couple people during the fight, so I was talking a lot more. So that usually I get to do seriously when things said. So I don't have that many, but I'll give you some of mine. All right.
Mm-hmm.
First, do seriously. Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan. Dude, seriously. I mean, it was kind of funny, but like, dude, seriously.
It was kind of funny the first time or two, but he did like 6 or 7 times.
I'm gonna go to Topuria. To Topuria's son, full decked out suit. Like, dude, serious? That's a good dude. Like, dude,
Yeah.
seriously, this kid, Topuria's gonna knock his opponent out, and then his kid's gonna steal his girl. Like, that was good lord. Did you tell me that kid's not gonna grow up to be a model or some shit? Like, holy Christ, dude, seriously. Yeah. And I'll end it on a bad dude, seriously. The UFC, know the timing. I understand International Fight Week's big, and there's some big moments, and Jorge Masvidal knocking out Ben Askren is, one of the most famous moments in the history of UFC. But dude, seriously, this guy is right now, as we speak, sitting on a hospital bed that he could die any moment, fighting for lung transplant. And they're like, dude, seriously, we shouldn't be showing him get knocked out right now. If anything, you should be having a moment saying, hey, we're going to pray for us. I guess his insurance isn't covering his transplant. You should be posting a link where people can donate. Dana should be freaking talking about we're donated $50,000 to help this guy out. Like, dude, seriously, come on.
Yeah, that was
fucked up. And they showed it twice at the same time. Come on, dude.
Yep, they did. 2 different angles.
What do you got, Ben?
And full credit to whoever said it in the chat right off the bat, because it was something that I wrote down before the card even started. Like, Cedric Dumas getting pulled off a card because literally he couldn't get in front of a judge in time to get his ankle monitor taken off. And full credit to Dev, who said, I want the NSAC to give him an extra pound just to see him fight with the thing on. Just first guy to fight with a ankle monitor on in the octagon. And I was like, I'm fine with that as long as they make it like Ken Shamrock in the early UFCs where, like, if you want to wear your wrestling shoes, you can't kick.
Yeah,
like no kicks with the ankle monitor.
Dude, knowing him, he'll be the first one with shackles on his legs when he's doing it.
the full chain gang, like with like the rod shackle in between.
What are we doing, UFC? Like, why are you booking this guy, dude? Seriously,
why are you booking this guy? Because this is not like, I didn't agree with it, but I understood the Greg Hardy thing. 1, he's heavyweight. 2, he was an NFL star. Like,
sure,
Cedric Dumas is just another guy as a fighter.
Yeah,
and he's less than just another guy as a human. Like, quit messing around with this. Come on, dude. Seriously.
Yeah, Emo.
No, we kind of covered him as we went down. So yeah, that's all I really had.
All right, let's stay negative. Let's go to the cut list. Ben, I only have 2. How many do you have for the cut list?
I got 2.
Okay, so the way the cut list works is if both me and Ben have the same name on the cut list, we will agree that the UFC should let this person go, give them permission. We'll read out some of the listeners who they think the UFC should get rid of. My first one is actually a Shillan and Duffy show favorite, so it's kind of hurting me a little bit. But the dude is 2-6-1 over his last 9 fights. He seems like such a great dude. But the times have gone by for Nico Price. I'm cutting Nico Price.
Nico Price was one of mine. I completely agree.
Who's the other one you had, Ben?
I had Slava Barshov, who is also 2-6, or he's like 2-5-1 in his last 8, and he's like 3-5-1 in the UFC overall.
Yeah,
it's not there. He's losing to the strikers. He's losing to the grapplers, and he's not even winning enough to become the proverbial win one, lose one, get some awards type guy. He's just losing a lot.
Yeah, that's exactly the other name I had. So he had it perfect. I mean, he's 1-5 in his last. I see how he's won 1 of his last 5 fights. So give it to my man. Apparently I spelled Nico Price's name wrong on the bottom. Sorry, guys.
Right now,
Yeah, Ben's fixing it right now. So we're fixing it now. We're 44 minutes in. How many times have that thing scrolled across the bottom?
Like,
dude, Mr. C, dude, seriously? You couldn't told us earlier? All right, let's go to the Bulls and the Bears. The Bulls and Bears stock market reference. You want to be on the Bulls list. You do not want to be on the Bears list. We do it hockey style, like the Stars of the Night 3, 2, 1. Ben, let's take it negative again.
all right,
You mind if I go first?
go for it.
All right, my number 3. We both agree that we're not completely writing him off, but you always lose stock when you get your first loss. We talked about this at will with like Alex Volkanovski when he was on his run and how it kind of kept him down in the pound ranking. So, of course, I'm talking about my man, Hyder and Mill. Obviously, his stock lost a little bit, especially if we get knocked out. My number 2, Kai Kara France. He's now had 2 title fights. He got smoked in both of them. 0 for 2. 0 for 2 against Pantoja, so he's not getting a shot anytime soon if Pantoja's champ. Not good for Kai Kara France. And my number 1 might surprise who I have, people. I'm going to Manel Kopp. And what I mean by that is your boy Josh Van went in and took everything he had. He took his fight against Royval. He took his win. He took his title shot. He put Manel Kopp in the back burner. No one's talking about Manel Kopp. I think Manel Kopp was our big loser tonight. What do you got?
I agree with all yours. So rather than pile, 3 whole ones on, I will add Renato Moicano. Not just that he lost, but how he lost. He was always going to be kind of an outside chance to really get into the title picture, but this is the kind of fight that he needed to win, and preferably in highlight reel fashion, to at least stay the kind of guy that can reliably like headline a fight night for the UFC. But instead, outside of one big right hand, he mostly lost the whole fight to Beneil Dariush. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Bears list. You want to be on the list. This is really good. So, Ben, I'll let you kick it off. I said Bears. I meant Bulls. Excuse me.
Bulls. Okay. Bulls. Peyton Talbot. He was having to bounce back from his first loss. It was a frankly kind of demoralizing loss. There was no smoke and mirrors. He got just beat. He came in as an underdog to Felipe Lima. And not only did he win, but he won by obviously having addressed the things that lost him his last fight. Out of a young fighter, what could you possibly ask for more than that? To actually go back to the drawing board and fix the shit that like lost you your last fight. So brilliant stuff from Peyton Talbot. Beneil Dariush, as you've said, seemingly one of the goodest dudes in the sport, but seemingly a guy that was pretty shot even by the standards of a rapidly aging lightweight top 10. Instead, he looked to be in vintage form. He looked better than he's probably looked in 5 years, win or lose. Like, he looked better than he's looked since the Tony Ferguson fight. And most of that fight was down to how bad Ferguson looked. So for the same reason Renato Moicano is down, Beneil Dariush is up. There were a lot of people that took big steps up tonight. I'm leaving a couple of them for you, but I'll go ahead and snatch our main event winner. When we open up a show by unironically asking where somebody falls on the greatest fighters of all time, what can you say but stock up? And when you go in as big a favorite as he did against Charles Oliveira, fair or not, just getting your hand raised at the end isn't enough to really for your stock to hold. But he did shit we haven't ever seen before. And just, yeah, we're talking realistically about how a 5'6" dude might do at 170 pounds against title contenders. Like, not that either of us is calling for it, but just that it was worth actually talking about for a sec is absolutely bananas. Ilia Topuria's stock is through the roof.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. You're the man, brother. Yeah, I did. Of course. I mean, Topuria's a freaking man. So obviously he's on my list too. So I'm not gonna. I'll take him off my list. I'll give you 3 new ones. My number 3. I mean, I feel dirty by even putting it at number 3. Alexandre Pantoja. I mean, I don't know how many title fights it wins now. It is, Was it like, is it 3? Is it 4? I mean, how many fights in a row has he
4.
won? And how many
He's
fights
won
in a row?
4. It's his fourth title fight win.
Fourth title fight. How many wins in a row does he have?
He has 8 in a row.
8 in a row, and that one, man, what a freaking run this guy's on. That's incredible. So I'll give him my number 3. My number 2, Josh Fan. I mean, obviously he's a breakthrough fighter of the year. I think that's pretty much locked. Even if he loses touchdown, he could win fighter of the year if he beats Pantoja before the end of the year. He could win fighter of the year. I mean, it wasn't that long ago he lost to what's his name? I can't think. Charles. What's his last name? His name is Joe. Yeah, the Charles guy. I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
I keep thinking of Charles Woodson. I'm like, no, you didn't lose the cornerback for the Raiders, or the Packers, whatever. That guy. I'm sorry, it's late.
Charles Johnson. Thank you.
Charles Johnson. Yes, thank you guys. Sorry, it's late. It wasn't that long ago that he was losing to Charles Johnson. To go from that to where he is now is a all-time run. And my number 1, I'll give it to my man Jesus. There was 11 fights. This guy got 6 call-outs. I mean, they were preaching the gospel nonstop. I mean, he was getting thanked more than cornermen, more than family members. I think he got more thank yous than Dana White and Mick Maynard. Man, my man Jesus got a good night for Jesus.
Fantastic night for Jesus, for sure. Yes.
All right. This is going to be hard. Tell me what your awards are, and then we'll go with what the awards actually were. And everyone throw in the chat what who would you give the award to? It would be hard tonight.
Okay, fight of the night is super screamingly obvious. Josh Van versus Brandon Royval. Performance of the night, much as I hate giving an extra $50K to somebody that's already making really good money, Ilia Topuria put on one of the more impressive one-fight performances of the entire year.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. This is going to kind of spoil who actually won the awards for you, Keith, because you don't know, but I'm giving it to Terrence McKinney. Because here's the thing. This is Terrence McKinney's 7th first-round finish in the UFC, and he has yet to get a single performance bonus for any of them.
How many of that is just bad luck? Like, I'm sure some he probably should have deserved, but I bet you some was just he's like tonight. If he doesn't get one tonight,
yeah, it's just because there's too much other stuff happening, and part of it is self-created because he loses enough fights that he's often buried on the prelims. He has to be like one of the most exciting guys that constantly shows up on prelims. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the main event. The people's main event. Royval and Van. No, that's the easiest fight of the night award ever. I agree. Like, I don't like give it to the main event a lot, but I feel like I have been picking a lot with Topuria, what he did. I'm not going to give it to McKinney. Because I think we knew that if he won, it would kind of be a quick stoppage. I'm going Gregor Rodriguez. I mean, that's the biggest win of his career. He knocked Hermanson dead. I'm giving it to Gregor Rodriguez. And that's me ignoring what Pantoja did, what Delgado did. I mean, what McKinney did.
Oh, a special bonus tonight. Brandon Royval, in addition to getting his show money and his half of the fight of the night bonus, he's getting his win bonus too.
That's awesome. Good for the UFC. Good for the UFC.
Yeah, good. Because you know what? You mentioned he walked into a no-win situation.
Yeah.
Just short notice, hottest prospect in the UFC. If you beat him, it's only what you're supposed to do. If you lose a lot. So for him to get his win bonus as well, good on the UFC.
So normally at this time we give out the grade of the night. I'm going to skip it I'm going to leave the grade to the night to the very, very end for a different reason people think. But let's go with our listener tonight. It's usually always the hardest one. The listeners are fantastic, like always. Who's your listener of the night?
It's between Matua and Mr. C. Like, it's been fantastic.
Two great ones.
Both guys made me laugh. Both guys, I think, either corrected me or disagreed with me and like kind of made me think. Matua takes it by a nose, I think. But Mr. C, you would definitely have gotten your win bonus as well from me.
Yeah, both of those guys were great. SOS Rampage Z3
Yeah,
was also awesome tonight.
fantastic.
This guy kissed up, so I'm gonna give it to him. Did his research. Chris Wiz gave me a lot of love, so I'm gonna give it to my man Chris Wiz. So I appreciate all the love he gave me. So I'm gonna cop out so I can give it to Chris Wiz. So thank you, brother. Ben, what was your grade for the card?
A+, man. There wasn't a bad fight on it. It wasn't a bad fight. A couple of sensational finishes. A fight of the year candidate. No Cedric Dumas. A+. Fight card of the year so far.
Yeah, 100%. It's A+. I mean, you had knockout of the year. You had a couple of possible knockout of the year with Topuria and Gregor Rodriguez. You had, I think, a lock for fight of the year with Van and Royval. You had, event of the year, breakthrough fight of the year. Topuria probably fighter of the year. I mean, the awards, and this is International Fight Week. This is a big one. So everything you said, I think you said, but you said there wasn't a bad fight. What was the worst fight? What was the worst fight? Cortez
versus Araujo, which is
it wasn't better at all.
Yeah,
it wasn't better at all. So, that is one of the reasons why I'm giving it a+. I'm gonna give you a different one. I'm gonna finish the show with story time with Keith.
All right.
So, Ben, I've been watching UFC fights since UFC 6, the debut of Tank Abbott. I was 14 years old, or 13 to 14. I'm not sure. I was in like 8th grade. So whatever that is, 13, 12, 13, 14. I'm not sure. I have probably watched, I don't know, 20,000 events. Who knows? Who knows? Count them up. I've watched with hundreds of people over the years. Family members, old crew, old high school friends, work friends, at bars, different bars. Tonight was my favorite event of all time. If you asked me what the greatest event of all time was tonight. And not for what you're saying. It was the third fight of the night. Terrence McKinney was about to fight. And my daughter, who is not my athlete, who's not the one who's into sports, my daughter Amber came downstairs. Out of the blue, I have, for the reasons why I spoke earlier, I basically haven't been home since Tuesday. She's my affectionate one. She came in, she gave me a big hug, cuddled on the couch with me for about a minute, and then she stayed on the couch for the entire event and watched the rest of the card with me, which she's never done before. And she got super into it. And she was asking me about fighters. She was making picks. She picked Royval Van. We were cheering back and forth. She was going crazy. She's at one point she's like, he needs to kick with his back foot. Well, he needs to keep kicking with that back foot more. There was one point where Pantoja was wrestling, and me and her will wrestle on the ground, and she's like talking about, oh, Dad, when you told me the head position. At one point, I demonstrated a chokehold on her so she knows. I have watched God knows how many events, and that was the best time I've ever watched fights.
Oh, that is fantastic, dude.
A+.
I'm so happy.
So my listener night, she's not listening. She's in bed. She even helped me up set up is my daughter Amber. So there you guys have it. Thank you so much. We have a week off. So before we forget, happy Canada Day, which is coming up in a couple of days, to all the Canadian listeners, especially to my lovely wife who was born and raised in Canada, and all my in-laws who are still up there. And happy, if you live in America, 4th of July, Independence Day. Happy 4th of July to you, Ben, and your family. I hope you have fun, cookouts. If anybody is close to Southern New England, I always have a big cookout. It's like one of my favorite days of the year for the 4th of July. Dude, hit me on Twitter. You're 100% invited. I would 100% love. So if you live anywhere, you're not doing anything, come to my house, 100%. No doubt you're invited. It'd be awesome. So anyways, Ben, say something as we leave.
Happy Independence Day in advance, guys. Have a great week off. We will talk to you in a little over a week ahead of UFC Nashville, I guess it is.
See you guys.